me of myself a little bit. But I like the look.
All right, welcome to another episode of The Film Doesn't Lie. You guys can see on screen who we're about to watch. If you guys don't know, there's two fights that happened between Toney and McCallum. We'll watch what happens in the first one. Let's look at the age difference between the two. Right, so 23, 35. If we're talking about recent fights between greats, I guess you can say, you have Floyd versus Canelo. This is probably, if not the exact same age difference between the two. Obviously, McCallum and Toney are fighting at middleweight. Floyd and Canelo fought at welterweight. Um, but a couple disclaimers for you guys. This is going to be on YouTube. I don't know how long it will stay on there because it might get copywritten. If it does, in fact, get copywritten, um, what we're going to do is we're just going to move this over to my website so we don't have to worry about the YouTube copyrights. But in order for it to go on my website, I'm not putting it on there for free because I have to pay for the storage to hold this long of a field study, whatever it is. So for those of you who really learn from the field studies and want to learn, it's not going to be free. We'll figure out like a membership program to be able to watch the film studies, but hopefully it stays on YouTube and they don't copyright it at all. The other disclaimer for you guys is we are going to do Film Doesn't Lie sessions for you guys. I have some of you guys that have entered or sent some of your footage. I want to be very clear about this. The footage needs to be, I guess you can say, landscape. It needs to be very similar to what YouTube is. I'm going over your guys' footage for free. So I'm not going to do any extra work outside of just opening and playing. If I have to do any extra work where I have to put it up sideways or edit it to film study and put it on here, I'm not going to do it. Because once again, I'm doing it for free for you guys. I'd rather just go ahead and watch a video that's already on YouTube and just hit play and do film studies on that. So that's a disclaimer for you guys. Film Doesn't Lie episode, McCallum and James Toney. I don't want to make any promises saying that we're going to watch the full fight. I don't want to make any promises saying that we're going to watch the second fight, but we are just going to take this information that we have right now. And I'm annoying when I watch film once again, so there's going to be a lot of pausing. There's going to be a lot of talking about the individual engagement, but the whole idea of this is to learn from it as much as possible. That's the good and the bad. So don't look at this as being a fan. If we're talking about being a fan, Toney is one of my favorite fighters, if not my favorite. But we're not going to look at this film study as being a fan. We're going to look at this as being a fan. We're going to look at this film study to learn as much as possible. And that's from what each fighter does good or what each fighter does bad and how to apply it to you. Because all of this is a application to you. We're not watching this as fans. We're watching this to learn. So, Film Doesn't Lie. Toney versus McCallum. This is their first fight. Let's see what happens. All right, once again, I said I'm already annoying. So we get into James Toney's double jab. You guys look at level changes, is what they call it, what some coaches call it. I like to call it position changes. The reason why I call it position changes is because you get to weaponize the new position. If you think of it as level, for me in my system, it doesn't sound like you would weaponize the new position as much as possible. So going in before we even get into the next part of what Toney might do off of this, that double jab does a bunch of things. It's a scoring shot, it's a setup shot, it's a defensive shot. So yeah, first engagement, Toney comes out with a double jab, jab upstairs, jab to the body, changing from high to a low. And he gets right back to it too. So if you notice, he first started the engagement where he entered the line or he started the engagement with a double jab. Now, if you see McCallum shot a jab at Toney and Toney countered with a double jab the same way. Triple jab now. So high, low, high. And if you see, McCallum's doing the same thing. So we can already see the IQs. We can already see the skill set. We can already see the technicality of each fighter. And that's just only us looking at what they're doing with their hands. Where we haven't even spoke on the fact as far as how they circle, their defense, their footwork, and whatnot. We're just looking at the engagement with their hands first.
Tony has anything to make him scared, you know? And that's kind of a good look of confidence. Plus, I wanted to see behind him stripping McCullough whether or not he wants this title back to prove something.
So already, if you see how we talked about the double jab being a setup, we see what Toney did with that double jab, and what it allowed him to potentially set up against McCallum. But we also see with McCallum and his skill set and his IQ, he was prepared for that. So the double jab, one upstairs and one low, set up the potential right hand off of Toney, because off of that position change, he is in the same position as he would need to be to load a right hand. So let's look at that slow. Right there. So instead of going all the way low to throw the second jab, Toney just comes and finishes with the right hand, or attempts to finish with the right hand. McCallum sees that, so he's going to duck underneath the right hand. Some coaches call it slip and sliding. And the reason why he's doing that, because the next shot that might happen, he needs to get away from as well. But now let's look at how Toney does that as well. When he understands that McCallum is going to slip and slide or go underneath the shot, he has to be worried about the next shot that McCallum might be able to throw from that low position. So if you see here, there's going to be a potential low blow that happens. But this engagement kind of gets stalled because both fighters are understanding what the next thing is to happen after this particular setup. So normally if Toney didn't follow through with that right hand to smother and be in a position where his body is on top of McCallum's shoulders and keeping his head down, he would have ran into that rear uppercut to the body. But because he's so close and he stuffs it, it actually turns into a low blow because he's keeping his head down. Little sportsmanship, touch gloves, back at it. Right away, if you see Toney is going into the next read, is what I call it. So he is now looking to counter McCallum's jab with his hook. Subtle thing. So these are reads that you pick up on when you practice with the gym. So this is not him going into the ring and being like, let me try these things out. This is preparation. So when he sees his opponent do certain things, this is the options he's able to get to. If you guys notice the whole time as well, like we are, I'm annoying, 36 seconds into round one, and they've been circling to the left the entire time so far. Right there again, he's using that jab, right hand upstairs. McCallum's going to duck underneath to look to counter off of it. So if you notice, what McCallum is doing right now in the first part of the first minute of the first round, he's looking to counter Toney's right hand, and he's looking to counter Toney's right hand with the rear uppercut. And so that rear uppercut is being shot to the body. And the reason why it's being shot to the body is because if Toney does, in fact, dip his head, he'll catch his head. But also as well, I don't know if you guys are aware that Mike McCallum's nickname is the Body Snatcher. So he likes shooting shots to the body. That's the little caveat for you guys. But so if you notice those shots, he's countering. He's looking to go ahead and counter those shots. Now he's throwing a little bit more in combination. I'm excited. I'm excited about this fight. Like, no glazing. I think that's what it is. But, I mean, once again, from this film study standpoint, when I watch film with you guys, I'm not making notes and getting clips beforehand. We're really watching this fight live with each other. So that's why I'm going to let the stuff play sometimes as we just kind of download the information of what's going on. But just paying attention to what these pros do with their hands, what they do with their feet, what they do with their head, understanding when the fight actually starts, which means that they're close enough to hit their opponent and their opponent is close enough to hit them, how they enter the line, how they exit the line, how they change positions to get different reads and looks. It's round one, but you can see the gamesmanship that's going on already. Even that right there. So Toney decided, okay, I countered your jab with the hook before. Now I want to go ahead and lean a little bit more over my front foot to come up with a lead uppercut. McCallum changes position. He goes low after he shoots the jab. And so a lot of stuff that I'm going to say is stuff that I say to my fighters or stuff that I say to people when I'm watching film. But this is protecting your jab. And what I mean by protecting your jab is after you land a jab on your opponent, you have to do something defensively or you have to do something in general. What McCallum decides to do is after he shoots his jab, he's going to dip a little bit more on his back foot and dip low to get away from the potential counter, because your jab is to set up shots. Your jab is used for defense. Your jab is used for a bevy of things. But your opponent is looking to counter your jab, and Toney is looking to counter McCallum's jab, and McCallum understands that. So we'll look at that exchange again, or that engagement again. And from there, you see he comes up. He uses that left uppercut or lead uppercut, left hand uppercut from that orthodox position to attempt to go ahead and land a right hand. And right now, that was the first time that McCallum or anybody is moving to the right a little bit. But if you notice, he's going right back to the left. All right, so round one is done. Some takeaways from round one. McCallum and Toney establishing the jab. But also protecting their jab. A lot of you guys hear, or we hear all the time, the jab is the most important punch in boxing. But also defending the jab is very important. And you can see how these professionals, these gentlemen, are defending the jab as well. When I talk to my fighters, I talk about defense, really meaning countering, because you don't score on defense, but you defending a shot means that you can counter it if you do it correctly. So if you notice, there's a couple things that McCallum and Toney are doing. They are catching the jab, they are slipping the jab, they are countering their jab in whatever way their opponent tells them based off of their position. So as you guys are in the gym and you're working on your jab, don't only work on it from an offensive standpoint, which means that you're scoring. Understand what you can do defensively to protect your jab, but also defensively to counter somebody else's jab. And that's what's pretty much going on with this first round for both of these gentlemen, McCallum and Toney. And then now when we go into the second round, we see what potential adjustments they may make. For these old fights, right, because of the IQ of the fighters, I like watching the corner talk. McCallum's coach is Eddie Futch. You guys do your research on Eddie Futch. I'm not going to talk about it right now. But you guys should know who Eddie Futch is. But the announcer and the commentator in this fight is Marvin Hagler. So to listen to what they say and listen to what the corner says, this is a a bunch of information you guys can go ahead and take to expand your IQ. And then now as you expand your IQ, you can now take this to things that you need to work on the gym, because we reverse engineer all this. Look at the greats, see what they do good, see what they don't do good, and then reverse engineer it to see what you need to work on in the gym.
Both guys have something to prove, and this time looks very good.
Oh, yeah. And Toney just stood there, glaring again at the end of the round.
So what Miller says, which is Toney's coach, he says we have to be first with our jab. We're getting a little lazy with our jab. And what he is identifying as Toney being lazy with is he's not being first. And then so the next thing that he says to Toney is that we cannot let him dictate the pace. So that all goes from the fact that, like, because Toney is being lazy with his jab, which means he's not being first with his jab, he is allowing McCallum to dictate the pace.
This is that low blow. Right hand thrown by Toney, and McCallum trying to counter to the belly, gets pulled down by Toney's right arm, and that was...
So if we look at that again, we talked about that earlier in the first round. So this goes into head control, right? So head control is one way to exit, right? So in your boxing, you have setups, which is how you get in. You have the punches you throw while you're in, and you have the exit. That entire choreography needs to be completed. It doesn't always have to look at the same. You can exit by using your feet. You can exit by using your hands. You can exit by using your head. And so what Toney did is, after he missed the right hand, he decided to stay on top of McCallum's head because McCallum dipped down. So if he dips down, when he needs to throw a punch, he has to come back up again, whether that be a shot to the body or that be a shot upstairs. So if Toney sits on top of him, it makes sure that McCallum can't punch after Toney's done punching. And that's what you have to do in boxing. Once you're done punching, you can't just sit there and admire your work. You have to make sure that your opponent can't punch afterwards. And there's a bunch of ways that you can do that, but the umbrella statement for that is it's your exit.
Really caused by Toney getting on top of McCallum, that right hand straying low.
No, that was accident. That was an
McCallum told us if Toney doesn't get him out quick, it's going to be a long night. Oh, yeah, guys buy that? Well, hey, listen, it's already a good start for McCallum. He's got 35% of his punches landing compared to 29 for Toney.
Well, a lot of times, if you have a great corner, and you got a guy like Eddie Fletcher in there, he's going to, like he's told him to move in closer with his jab. And Eddie is a very good teacher. You know that, of course.
Both these guys are really represented well by their corners. Bill Miller in the other corner, to me, was very instrumental in Toney winning that title from Michael Nunn.
So 30 seconds in, and this is the importance of, if you guys are going to compete, you need a coach. You need a coach. You could be self-taught all you want, but when it comes to quartering, you need a coach, and this is the reason why, because you have 4 eyes in the fight, or depending on how many coaches, you have 6, you have 8 eyes. And you, as a fighter, you have a point of view reference, right? You can see your opponent. Now, your coach can see you and your opponent. So they have a different look and they have a different view of what's going on. So if you notice, Miller told Toney, like, hey, you can't be lazy with your jab. You have to be first with your jab, because now it's going to allow you to dictate the pace, because McCallum was dictating the pace. So in this first 30 seconds, you see Toney is very much not being lazy with his jab. He's being first with his jab, and he's dictating the pace. So the first 30 seconds of this round, Toney is, quote unquote, winning. So I want takeaway points for you guys, because you guys are looking at the engagement that happened, but let's look at the skills that are required to go ahead and complete this engagement. And we're going to pick one fighter to look at right now. And we're going to look at McCallum, and we're going to look at his footwork. So let's start off of this engagement, because as soon as I had talked about Toney being first with his jab and Toney dictating the pace, McCallum pretty much is attempting to go ahead and take that away right now. So now McCallum's going to be back on his stick or his jab. Catches Toney's jab, throws his jab, throws a second jab, gets away from the right hand by moving his head back to the back foot. Kind of controls that space with the left hook, letting Toney know that, hey, after he throws the right hand, don't come back in here with anything else because I got a left hook for you. So this kind of stalls the action between the two. Toney comes back in with that space to go ahead and throw a left hand to the body. And then another thing to you guys is, hey, always bring your hands back to your face. Look at where Toney's right hand is as he throws his left to the body. And then he throws a right hand over the top. McCallum slides to his left a little bit. Counters with a rear uppercut. So now let's talk about position and let's talk about fight stances. Based on this clip right now, is McCallum in a orthodox stance or a southpaw stance? His right foot is forward right now. So now you see he slides underneath the next shot that is coming from Toney. And he takes an angle very similar to what you guys would say or what the pundits would say or what the casuals would say. This is a weak side exit that a lot of southpaws take against an orthodox fighter because they're getting past that left shoulder, where now Toney has to turn around all the way to be able to get back into scoring zones with McCallum. So you see McCallum's footwork off of that. Let's go slow off of this. He's going to catch the left to the body, counter with his rear uppercut, now switch to a southpaw stance, roll underneath the next shot, which is the left hook. He's going to shuffle to get away, plant to now be back into an orthodox stance where his left foot is there again, and now he's going to throw a left hand to the body, control Toney's head because it went down and now he's coming back up again. So now McCallum is worried about the next shot that Toney's going to throw at him. And he just is going to dip and slide away. And when he slides away, this is something I like to call a shuffle. If you don't know the footwork vocab I use, I have a video on that footwork vocab. It's on my YouTube page. Go ahead and look at it. He's going to shuffle to get away. And now engagement's over. So the footwork that's required to do that is a combination of footwork. Half steps, pivots, shuffles, shifts. All those are available in that one engagement. You have to work on that footwork individually to be able to now attempt to go ahead and get this shot off against your opponent.
Well, that's McCallum's bread and butter punches. That right hand uppercut counter off of a right hand by his opponent, and he's really used it tonight.
This is one of the lands another right. This is one of the reasons why Toney is holding that right hand up there. Nice, good left hook.
So let's look at that engagement. Think about maybe the two-part. We'll see right now. Right now, you guys have to understand that. Well, I'll ask you guys a question before we go forward. Is this a is the fight going on right now? There's no punches that are being thrown at all, but are they close enough to hit each other? If the answer is yes, the fight is going on right now, so you do have to be aware. So now they get into the engagement. Toney's going to throw a left hand. He's going to throw a right hand. McCallum's going to go ahead and take that half step back. Toney's footwork is going to allow him to throw the next shot. McCallum's going to get away. He's going to counter with his shot. Toney's going to get away from McCallum's. Roll under. McCallum understands the next position that Toney's in. They both duck to go ahead and do the same thing to get away from potential shots that the opponent was going to go ahead and throw. So right now, if you look at it, this is cool to see from a skill set standpoint between two fighters that have that IQ. So The way McCallum is dealing with this right hand from Toney is he's taking that little half step back and those shuffles back to just get slightly outside of Toney landing the shot. Now, the way that Toney eats up that space is he's going to throw a punch, the next punch. As soon as McCallum sees Toney throws that next punch, he's actually going to counter with his right hand. Toney understands that the position that he's in and knows that a right hand is supposed to be coming, so he's going to exit the position that he was in to get away from the right hand. And he does that by rolling under. McCallum is taking a peek where Toney's head is. Toney is taking a peek where McCallum's head is, so they understand the next thing that's about to happen. So right now, they are both in positions to throw left hands at each other. Look what they both do right now. They both duck the potential left hands. So McCallum, in that position where it was a potential to throw, he did something defensive. Toney did something defensive. Now, based on Toney and McCallum being in new positions, now McCallum is deciding to throw. Now, Toney's deciding to go ahead and throw. McCallum's deciding to throw. Toney's deciding to go ahead and throw. McCallum's deciding to throw. So the exchanges are, they go in hand. Offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, defense. And they are not so much making reads as they are completing the potential choreography based on what they prepared with before they got into the ring in the first place. Engagement over. You are only allowed to go ahead and do the choreography as long as you prepare for it. Because if you don't, what's going to happen in those potential situations, for somebody who doesn't have that much of an IQ, you can get clipped in those positions. And we see it often off of highlights. Long engagements lead to knockouts. But these fighters have a higher skill set and higher IQ, so they always know the next thing that's potentially coming. So twofold once again, because we're talking about footwork and the importance of it, right? And then we also include pivots in that importance, right? And it's subtle, but it's a huge deal to make sure that your footwork always gets you in position to be able to punch, because that's how we score. We score with our hands in boxing. So right now he's going to hug James Toney's left shoulder. Look at his hand position on Toney's waist. His right foot is outside Toney's left foot, so he can go ahead and circle and keep going to his right. Kind of just a little matador. Let me just go ahead and guide you a little bit more to my left over my left shoulder, so that way as soon as I finish the shovel and I plant, I can go ahead and throw a right hand over the top. This is a setup. You don't only do setups with your hands. You don't only do setups with your head. You can do setups with your feet. So this is not a combination in the aspect that's typical where it's like a 1, 2, 3. And I have a video on that as far as for why I don't teach 1, 2, 3 combinations, because this is the combination by McCallum as well. End your engagement, hug Toney's left shoulder, guide him to be in position with your feet so that way you can throw a right hand, because Toney is in a position where he at best can just defend your shot, which means block it. He cannot counter your shot. He can just defend because you allowed your feet to get in position and set up a shot. You be honest. And once again, I told you guys beforehand, do not watch these fights as being a fan. Toney is one of my favorite fighters, if not my favorite fighter. I could easily be biased and go ahead and just overlook this. But is Toney in a bad position? Yes or no? Film doesn't lie. You guys take a peek. Can Toney punch back right now? Who looks advantageous right now, McCallum or Toney? And even Toney smirks a little bit, like, okay, you got me a little bit. Even that, so now we get back to as far as something good that Toney is doing. I told you guys that, and you guys have seen. It's not me telling you anything. We've been watching that most of the movement in this fight is them circling to the left. And so with this, we throw at people's exits. And what that means is the position that they're going, we can keep them inside. So right now, as McCallum moves to the left, Toney's going to throw a left hook. To keep him there. Don't slide out to the right anymore, McCallum. I need you to stay here. And the way I'm going to keep you here is I'm going to time this left hook with as you're moving to your right, and I'm going to go ahead and look to throw a right hand. So it's his opportunity. This is a setup once again. His opportunity to be able to throw a shot. The setup was left hook as McCallum is moving to his right, right hand. Once again, we talk about the IQ of these fighters. McCallum knows the next shot that's coming, so he defends. But at best, all McCallum can do right now is defend, which means block the punch. He's not throwing anything back at Toney, so this is an advantageous position for Toney. Not advantageous for McCallum right now. You guys can just see in the film who's advantageous right now, Toney or McCallum. But the footwork, once again, this pivot here allows McCallum to get in a better position where he's not able to get hit with more shots as he's in a disadvantageous position. Clinch work, inside work, always important. And so as much as you guys talk about like slick fighters, as much as you guys talk about like people who run and stuff like that, this is important because you need to prepare your positions. And the positions that you don't prepare for means that you can get taken advantage of in a fight. So even though these guys are boxers and they have good footwork, they also have good footwork off of infighting. This is infighting right now. They're clinching. Toney is taking care of McCallum's left shoulder, so he's not able to go ahead and throw a punch. His head is over McCallum's shoulder as well, and he has his head tucked in that little shoulder slot to go and protect himself. But even look at McCallum right now. He's going to clinch. Now he's going to punch Toney off of him. And if you see the ref that's about to go ahead and come in, who wants to break the action if they do hold a little bit too much. That's an exit as well. It's like this. That's beautiful work right there to see between these two fighters. So going from offense to defense, back and forth, and y'all can call it glazing all you want, but like, I mean, I love watching this stuff. I love watching this stuff. We're gonna go back and look at that. And this is why we're gonna look at it right now, because we talk about pros, right? So, oh man, so let's look at this. First of all, why did this shot happen in the first place? So we talked about before, and I asked you guys, I said, is the fight going on right now, yes or no? And you guys, I don't know what your answer was, but the answer was flat out yes, according to the film. So now they just disengage, and McCallum walks back to that engagement space where he's close enough to hit Toney, and Toney's close enough to hit him. So in the middle of that, and we're going to almost like count the steps right now. So right now, if you see, McCallum's foot went right foot up, left foot planted, which means that all of his weight is on his left heel right now, or his left foot. Now he's going to weight back on his right foot, and then now his left foot is lifted. So that means that his next movement is that his foot is going to be on, his weight is going to be on his left foot. Toney times that. And as McCallum's weight is going from his right foot or his right heel to his left heel, Toney throws a shot as he's going there. So now McCallum he's caught off guard. And because he's caught off guard, now that allows Toney to be able to throw the next shot. Because the way that McCallum deals with getting caught off guard or him entering the line on front foot dominance is he exits the line to his back foot. Toney got this information based off of them already being in the round, so he's throwing his right hand over his own left toe, which is over McCallum's right foot. Normally, McCallum would go ahead and take that little half step back in that shuffle, and he would slightly get away from that right hand. But right now, because his footwork was going from right foot to left foot to right foot, he gets caught as he's going to the left foot. He doesn't have that same opportunity to go ahead and slide backwards to get away from the right hand. So Toney gets to go ahead and land a clean shot. The good news is McCallum's a pro. He knows how to roll the shot a little bit, so it doesn't cause as much damage. But look what McCallum does afterwards, because Toney wins this engagement at first. At first. But what does McCallum do? He counters right away. Because when he rolls with that shot, it puts him in position to be able to land that rear uppercut. Toney gets away from it because he understands that after he's done punching, his opponent's going to punch. But then now, McCallum follows up that rear uppercut based on where Toney's head is at. With his left right, Toney's looking to counter, misses. So now you guys have to think about it, right? So Toney landed, we'll say 2 shots, and we'll count them. Just so we see how scoring works and how judges may look at these potential fights. Right now, there was a disengagement, so everybody has an opportunity, whether you're a casual fan, you're a trained fan, you're a judge. They didn't punch for a while, so it's almost like you can take a break and be like, okay, what's about to happen next? So now they're going to re-engage. So let's count the punches that happens off this new engagement. 1 from Toney, 2 from Toney. So Toney's throwing 2 punches. McCallum throws 1 punch. So it's 2-1. McCallum throws 2 punches. Toney throws 1, depending on what angle you're at. It's 1 right now. So now they're at 3-3. Let's double check because we're watching this live again. 2 for Toney, 1 for McCallum. 2 for McCallum, 3 for McCallum, 3 for Toney. 4 for Toney, 5 for Toney. 4 for McCallum. 5 for McCallum, 6 for McCallum, 7 for McCallum, 6 for Toney, 8, 9, 10. That one misses. So that engagement is 10 punches McCallum, 8 for Toney. So even though Toney landed clean with that shot, you look at total punches and you look at scoring shots, right? So even though Toney landed clean, McCallum jumps right back on him to be able to almost make people forget that Toney landed clean. So twofold, if you guys take away from this, it's like, okay, well, what do? Once you're done punching and you land clean, either end your engagement and exit completely so your opponent can't punch you anymore, so you can step back and make it clear and concise that I landed clean, this is my engagement, or be aware the same way that you were when you first started the engagement. That means that you have to get your get back, or not get your get back, but you have to continue to stay on top of your opponent so it's still clear and concise that you're winning this engagement. Now, if you get hit with the clean shot and you're not knocked out, your job is to go ahead and make the judges or make the fans forget that you got landed with a clean shot by winning the entirety of the game, entirety of the engagement. So we'll let it play through and then we'll talk about it because.
That was a beautiful double hook delivered by Toney, body and head, and I think that had a lot to do with McCallum.
So round 2 is over with. But let's look at this engagement one more time.
Real good. He's throwing those punches real well. I like it.
So Tony's looking to go ahead and counter the jab, and more importantly, he's looking to counter a position. He's looking to counter McCallum's position right now. And as he counters McCallum's position, because McCallum is protecting his position, he is now looking to see if Toney gets out of position so he can counter as well. And if you see, that's what he does right here. But Toney gets back into a better position with his footwork because, like we talked about, they equally have good footwork and IQ. And he gets into a spot where when they're playing the game of who does things correctly and who does things incorrectly, right now Toney wins. And it is daylight for you guys. This looks bad. This looks bad for McCallum. Now, can Toney use this information for later? Yes. Can McCallum use this information for later? Yes, as well, where he doesn't get himself in this position again. But when we talk about like a game of inches, a game of centimeters, this was a potential shot that could have ended the fight for good. But what happens instead is more of like a hooking shot. So he hits him with the forearm, which is more of a throw. But if you notice, McCallum right now is out of position. And the umbrella statement is out of position. Underneath that umbrella statement is he's off balance. And so because both of his heels are, you can see based on this angle, his feet are straight line, which means he has nowhere to put his head to catch his head with his feet. So his head is a little bit too far over, but normally you would want your right heel or your right foot right underneath where your head is at. So that way when you bend over like that, you can catch your weight with your feet. But because McCallum is out of position and off balance specifically, when his head goes over, there's nowhere for it. His feet cannot catch his body and cannot catch his weight. So he's going to fall. Now, if you notice, the crowd's going crazy because depending on the crowd's position, this looks like a punch where McCallum got knocked down. And so the same way, if you see the judge across the side, maybe the judge thinks the same thing. Maybe the judge to the left thinks the same thing. Maybe the judge to the right thinks the same thing. The judge right at the reference and vantage point that we are can see that it was more of a hooking shot. But when we talk about scoring fights, it's based on the appearance of things as well. It's very hard from an untrained eye to be able to see offense and defense at the same time between two different people. And I said it in a couple of my other videos when I was talking to my amateur fighter, Frankie. Most of the time when you come to an amateur fight and it's you guys are both in an engagement, or even a professional fight as well, when you guys are both in engagement and it's a 10-punch engagement, you throw 5, your opponent throws 5, you only see the punches and defense from whoever you came with. So if I went to go ahead and see, and I'm not cornering Frankie, if I went to go ahead and see him fight and I'm watching him fight, I'm looking at what Frankie's doing. In this aspect, I'm looking at what Toney's doing. So I'm like, okay, Toney threw 5 shots. He landed 3. So he won that engagement, right? No, but realistically, some of those punches land, some of them don't. So we're looking at punches thrown at that aspect. So this could look bad for McCallum. But I mean, at that point, it's just kind of how sports go, and it's the nature of competition. It's the reason why you actually have to do it. It's not just who's better on paper. It's like you have to actually do it. So based on this ref's vantage point, he understood that that wasn't a landing shot. It was more of a cuff. It was more of a throw. So he didn't rule it as a knockdown. He ruled it as a slip. But what if he ruled it as a knockdown? That's a 10-8 round. Or if McCallum was winning that round, it's a 9-9 round. So you did all that work in 3 minutes and you lose the round off of the last 10 seconds. That's why it's important when you're training, when you're sparring, when you're doing anything that is tied to a bell, you have to be locked in and aware all the way through those bells being done, because you can fight a really, really good round. In the last 5 seconds, you let up from an awareness standpoint and you get knocked out or you get knocked down. So all that work that you did in that round before is done. So you have to go ahead and make sure that your intentions are very pure. I know this, I don't know what time we're on, but I know this film study is a little bit long right now, so we are going to stop it off of 2 rounds. I do want to get back to this film study, but I'm not going to make promises once again. Hopefully you learned from this. If you didn't, I mean, hopefully you enjoyed the time that we got to go ahead and watch this film study. But once again, with the disclaimer for you, the film doesn't lie. If YouTube does copyright this, I will go ahead and take it to my website, and then I'll probably start taking the film studies there going forward so we can learn. But once again, because I have to pay for the storage for my website, I'm not going to do those for free for you guys. So we'll think about a membership that works for you guys as well. If you guys are looking for one-on-one coaching, I got you. If you're in the Orange County area, we can train in person. And that goes with what you need to do from a boxing standpoint, what you need to do from a strength and conditioning standpoint, and what you need to do from a nutrition standpoint to supplement all those things. And that goes for men and women. That goes for ex-athletes, current athletes. That goes for ex-boxers, current boxers, or people who are just enthusiasts like myself, because I coach boxing. However, for me, I'm an enthusiast. I enjoy doing it, but I want to be good at doing it. So if that's you as well, I got you. And we'll see y'all in the next one. Film doesn't lie.